Good morning, and welcome to another fabulous Monday. So today I want to talk about Blue, who, if you don't know, is my oldest cat. We got her, it's 2018, in March-ish. I'm not really good with remembering when we got them because it was such a blur of time. I felt like we were doing so much stuff at this point. But, so Blue is our first cat. And I want to talk a little bit about her story, how we got her, and I'm going to adjust the camera real quick, it's a little high. A little bit of how we got her and kind of the story of getting our first cat together. So me and my husband had been dating for about 3 months, and at work, one of my coworkers had been driving herself crazy, convinced that there were cats in her ceiling because she started to hear them, but it had only happened when she was by herself in her office. So every time she was alone, she would hear the mewling of the little kittens, and she would freak out and try to get somebody else in there to hear it, but every time somebody else was in there, they were making noise, so the cats stopped mewling, and so nobody else had ever heard them. Well, one day I went into her office, and I'm going to adjust this again. One day I went into her office, and I was waiting for her because she was working on something, and so I didn't want to interrupt her. I was waiting, and in that silence, they start mewing, and she looks up at me like a crazy person and goes, "Did you hear it?" I was like, "Yes, I did hear it. You can calm down. I never thought you were crazy." So she's convinced, and then one Friday that week, she heard like a thump, and she was like, "They're all going to come through the ceiling." She's freaking out. We get one of the guys that works there, kind of janitorial, to come in with his ladder and to go in and try to get them out. Because we figured by this point they were probably old enough that they were going to get heavy enough that they were going to come through the ceiling. And we didn't want that to happen. So we finally get everything together. We get all 3 cats. There was 3 little kittens out. And we get them all out. And there was 2 little black ones with like almost grayish looking fur. They looked almost silver with the way like the light hit them and stuff. I don't know. They were really interestingly colored, but they were mostly black. And then, so we've got those 2 out, and we're getting the 3rd one out, but she ran away. She like had gotten up and moved during this time, and so he's trying to get in there and trying to get this little fighter, and while this is happening, I'm texting my then boyfriend going, "Listen, I've always wanted a pet. They're so cute. Come on, wouldn't it be great?" Because I'm trying to convince him, because by this point we'd already been talking about the future, and we were pretty sure we were going to be together. And so we were just kind of like going through the motions of, okay, when were we going to get engaged, marriage, and all of that. We're still talking about all this, but it looks pretty likely, and considering that we did get married, pretty good. But I was still living at my apartment. And my apartment allowed pets, but there was a $300 deposit, and then the monthly fee, pet fee. And I really just couldn't afford that, and it didn't make sense. Wow, my fabulous boyfriend, now husband, had his own house, so he could have as many pets as he wanted. And no fees, other than, the usual pet, food, wash, vet, all of the stuff. But, so I'm trying to convince this guy. I'm like, "You want a cat too, don't you? Come on, they're cute. You don't really have to take care of them at all." And he's like, "I don't know if we really should get a cat. Like, it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be an outside cat, and it's going to stay out there," and just like throwing all of these things. And I'm just like, "Oh, but please, just say yes. Just say yes. I'm going to take one home one way or another," and like going through the whole thing. And the reason I really needed him to say yes is because if we were together in the long run, which we are, eventually this cat would move in with him. And so I needed him to say yes, because I wasn't going to get rid of the cat once I got the cat. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, "Please say yes to this cat," and I'm begging him, and the whole time though, this was the middle of my work day. He was just getting up and driving to work because he was on second shift. So we're having this argument while he's going to work, and he's like, "Do you have to have this argument right now?" I was like, "Kinda, because it's gonna be the end of the day, and I'm gonna leave with one of these cats, or somebody else is gonna take them, or they're gonna go to the shelter, and something's gonna happen to them." I'm like crying over here. And so they finally get the 3rd cat out of the ceiling by this point, and it's not black like the other ones. It is black and white, so it's more tuxedo. And mind you, we get all 3 kittens out. We've got a big box. We've put some, like, old t-shirts in there for them to, like, rustle around in and, like, huddle together. They are, like, this big. Like, the size of my fist, kind of. They're tiny. They're babies. We found out later they were probably about a month old. So, they should have stayed with their mother longer. However, the stray that was running around, who was their mother, refused to come out of the ceiling with them, so we couldn't get her with them. So we would have to take care of them. And so I'm over here begging Miles to please give me this kitty. It's so cute. Finally, he says, you know what? Fine. Great. So, second tactic. I need him to love this cat. So that, because I know that training a cat, especially a baby cat, there might be accidents. So I need him to love this cat. So, I show him a picture of all 3, and I said, which one do you want? Granted, at this point, I'm, like, banking for one of the little black ones, because they're just so cute, and they're, like, silver, and they're so interesting. He picks the black and white one. I was like, okay. I told him to pick. I'm going to let him pick. So I pick her up at my desk, and she's just so cute, and I'm holding her right here, and I send him a picture of her as she's, like, holding on to me, and I'll try to remember to post that picture, because it's still my favorite. And I'm like, what should we name her? He looks at the picture and he says, we should name her Blue. Because her eyes looked blue in that picture. And if you've met my cat since then, she does not have blue eyes. She has more like amber eyes. And it upsets him to this day because that was the whole point of her name. But I'm holding this little one and I'm petting her and I'm snuggling her and she's mewing because she's going to be by herself and she was used to being with her litter, and so I'm trying to make sure she's comfortable and she knows what I smell like, and I'm wrapping her up in a blanket, make sure she's not cold. End of the workday comes. I am ridiculously excited. One of my other coworkers took the other 2 because she had a really large property, and so she's got like stray cats that run around, and so she had indoor, outdoor, and so she was going to take care of them inside until they were ready to go outside, and then they would be fine. So, I'm ready with my little cat, and I've got a little box to take her in. I've put her, wrapped her up in a t-shirt. I'm ready to go. But I realized this cat's probably been in the ceiling for a while. So I needed to get her checked out, make sure she's okay, make sure that there's nothing I need to do. I don't know how young she is, so I don't know if maybe she needs to, I don't know, be bottle fed, she needs help pooping, or what I'm supposed to do to take care of this cat. I know how to take care of a full-grown cat who's already been away from their mother for a while, because for the most part they're pretty easy. They already know how to poop themselves, feed themselves. It's fine. You just give them food. So I take her into the vet that's right down the street from where we live, and walk in there, and I'm carrying this big lump of a t-shirt on my chest like this, and I walk in, and I'm pretty sure I had already called ahead. I don't remember anymore. And I was like, hey, I have this kitten. We just rescued her from the ceiling at work. I just wanted to bring her in if you had time to make sure that she's okay. And also, I don't know what I'm doing. So they said, bring her in. We'll see if the doctor can see her. So I walk in and I go all the way through and I'm like, I've brought a kitten. I called ahead. And I'm like, telling them the whole, I pulled her out of the ceiling at work and I wanted to make sure. And they're just looking at me going, okay, well, where's the kitten? And I'm like, well, she's right here. And so I tilt the shirt down a little bit, and then pops Blue's little head, just like, she's scared, she's like cold, and she's shivering against me, and I'm just like trying to keep her warm, and they like catch a glimpse of her in the t-shirt, and they're like, oh my goodness, she's a baby. And I was like, yes, she is a baby. She's a little baby nugget. So they're like, well, let me go talk to my doctor, see if they have time just to make sure she's okay. She is really young. They kind of expected her to be a little bit older, like I'd just gotten her from a shelter or something. I'm like, no, we pulled her out of the ceiling. So they go get the doctor. The doctor says fine. They're going to go pull her in to see her. And she just kind of goes and looks at her. She's like, wow, she's like really little. By this point, they don't know if she's a boy or girl. They're like, we're pretty sure she's a girl, but she's still really young, so it can kind of go either way by this point. We're not sure. She's not really showing too many signs and all of this stuff. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to say she's a girl. Either way, the name is Blue, so it's fairly gender neutral name. So, cat's name is Blue. Don't know if it's a boy or girl yet. We're pretty sure it's a girl, so we're just labeling girl and moving on. Get her checked out. They said, okay, she looks good, she looks healthy, she should be able to eat. You might have to help her pee and poop. She's going to be a little fussy in the beginning because she needs to get used to sleeping on her own. And then For food, though, you might want to give her canned because it's a little bit easier for her to eat. And there's one specific can brand that had essentially mother's milk in it, so it was still what she needed as a baby, because she might have still needed to be with her mother a little longer. So go grab the stuff, like walking through PetSmart with this little bundle, going like, yeah, I gotta go get a bunch of stuff. And I'm going aisle to aisle to aisle, being like, okay, what does she need? What did I get? I want to get all the stuff, but at the same time, remember, couldn't afford $300, so I'm on a budget. I also just paid for a vet appointment. So I'm like, okay, gotta figure this stuff out. And I'm running from aisle to aisle, getting a whole bunch of stuff. They had an amazing little, like, kit set for a litter box that came with the scooper and, like, a food water bowl, and, like, so I just grabbed that, and I got a couple of cans of the food, because she's like the size of one of these cans, and they're like the mini cans. So I'm like, yeah, this should work. Throw a couple of those in there, get some litter, go home. By this point, we'd already exchanged keys, and I already knew the code and everything, so I went in, and I'm, like, setting her up, and I'm just, like, he comes home, I'm, like, sitting on the floor. Fortunately, it was a Friday, so we had the weekend with her, but I'm sitting on the floor like this, going, you're home. Look at this nugget. And she's so tiny, she can't even keep her head up. And she's just, like, tumbling around. She's the cutest little baby, and I'm, like, ridiculously excited by this point. I'm, like, squealing. He comes home. I, like, throw hugs and kisses, and I'm like, you're the best thing ever. I can't believe you let me have this cat. And so the excitement. Well, we're not letting her out alone because she's still so small she could get stuck in stuff. And by this point, his house was still a bachelor pad, so there was still a lot of, like, stuff everywhere. So we're organizing some boxes to put her in so she stays in, because she can't quite tumble out of them. Like, taking care of her, wrapping her in blankets and all of that, and making sure she's comfy, teaching her to use the litter box, showing her where the food is. And she had this little thing for a while where every time she was trying to go to drink water, she would dunk her head in it and then, like, come back up and, like, be sneezing out water. So it's like she couldn't hold her head up quiet, so she'd be like, go, psh, pull it back up and be like, I got water in my nose. And so I had a little, like, syringe that they give you, like, for kids in liquid medicine. So we had one of those, and I'm just trying to, like, shove it in her mouth so she can drink water so this cat's not dehydrating on me. Found out later that the cat's milk was supposed to do that. She didn't really need that much water. But I still fed her water, and she was drinking it just fine. It wasn't like I was choking her. She was, like, licking it up, and was like, okay, I drank water. But she still hated it. But if you know, cats are fickle, and they hate everything. So we're going through that, really excited. Okay, it's time for bed, because he got home really late. So we put her in the box, and we put, like, a bunch of paper towels on one side, and we're like, hopefully she figures out that's where she needs to go. She's going to go, you know, put everything together. We get to bed, and we put her in the corner of the room. We're falling asleep, and she starts to cry. And she continues to cry, and cry, and cry. And I'm just like, baby, please, go to sleep, Blue. It's gonna be okay. I need to sleep. I've been up since, like, I think at this point I'd been up at, like, 6 a.m. I was like, I need to go to sleep. You need to leave me alone. And by this point, it's like, I think it was like 11 at night, 11:30. And I was like, I need to sleep. I've been up way too long. I need to go to sleep. She continues to cry. Eventually, I just fall asleep. I don't remember if she stopped crying or not, but it was a really rough night for all of us. Get up in the morning. To the smell is that she'd pooped in her box. Like a lot. So I get this little nugget, put her in the sink, scrub her down. I think I was using, like, that Dawn shampoo, because I was like, it's good enough for ducks. So I'm washing her up, cleaning her up. She's now poop free again. Kind of dried her up and holding her, and she's, like, warming up to make sure I didn't, like, over freeze her or something. And then let her run around and playing with her. I'd gotten her a couple of little, like, toy balls, which they have since disappeared, and they had never left this house. So I have a feeling that if we ever move, I'm gonna find all of her old toys, and she's gonna be like, hey, Mom, where did these come from? And I'm like, oh. Granted, a lot of them did get thrown away because they got coated in poop, because I made the mistake of leaving her with one. I was like, here, you have a toy when you're sleeping, and then I got poop on it and ended up being tossed. So that's actually might be where most of them are, but I know there should be at least one, but not the point. So we're figuring this out, and we're kind of playing with her still. We're figuring out what she wants to do. By this point, we're slowly starting to get the hang of it. Miles is terrified to death that he's going to step on her and she's going to die, or that she's going to get sick and she's going to die, or we're going to lose her and she's going to get stuck somewhere, she's going to get electrocuted. He's convinced that this cat is going to die. I'm going to get depressed and I'm going to leave him forever. Little out there, but I mean, I probably would have been really, really sad. So he's paranoid that this cat's going to die on us, and there's nothing he can do about it. So he's being really cautious. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do. He's like, I thought we said outside cat. And I was like, yeah, but she's still really little, and we can't put her outside. I saw Chicken Hawk the other day. She is tiny enough to get eaten. So, we're still taking care of her. We're, like, doing all of this stuff. Monday comes back around. I'm really sad because now I have to leave this kitten in the morning, and he gets to have all morning with her. But then I have to get all evening with her. So by this point, kind of the way we've rotated it, she's going to be alone for maybe like 2 to 3 hours a day in her kennel between when he leaves and I get back home. So we put her in a little kennel that we'd gotten, and with like blankets and everything, and take her out when we get home. And by this point, she's still like a nugget, and the kennel's like huge for like full-grown cats. So she's still got plenty of room to run around and play around, so it wasn't really a big deal. I leave for work that morning, and the first thing I get is a selfie from him and the cat sleeping on his chest, watching TV. And I get one of these selfies every morning for the first, like, I don't know, it might have just kept going until he went back on first shift, and we were essentially on the same schedule, so he was at work, I was at work. And the only thing I could think about getting this first picture is, he loves this cat. This is not going to be an outdoor cat. And here we are, like, where is Blue? She might have been on the other room. But about 1.5 years later, she is now a full-grown cat. She is a chunkers. She's very well trained, because when she was biting when she was little, Miles would put his finger in her mouth just so she understood that it was not a good thing and not a pleasant thing. I heard her jingling. I'm not crazy. Blue, come here. She likes to take her time because everything is in her time. Come on, baby. So this is Blue now. As you can see, her eyes are not blue anymore, but she is still my favorite little tuxedo. She's a happy baby. She's got her harness and all of her shots and a little tag that has her name. She's doing very well. She's pretty well trained. She understands a lot of words. Somehow we managed to train them to understand get out or out, and it has to be said aggressively. I've tried it gently before, but so at the end of the night, we didn't let them stay in our room anymore because we tried that with Blue when she was little, which in the beginning she couldn't get on the bed, so it wasn't a big deal. As she got older and figured out how to get on the bed, she demanded to be petted at 4 a.m. every night, without any regard to our schedule. So it became a thing that we had to either leave her in the kennel out, or we would have to close the door at night when she was big enough, because she would be on our faces at 4 a.m. It got to the point where when Miles was on first shift again, and she was still fairly little, she jumped up on the bed because he forgot to close the door because I didn't have to be at work until 8. And so it was a whole hour I got to sleep more. Jumped up on the bed, and I kind of had my mouth open, and I was like, oh, I'm so tired. She shoved her face in my mouth. She freaked out, I freaked out, we stared at each other for a second going, what just happened? She ran away, I'm over here spitting fur out of my mouth. And various saliva, I'm sure. But, so we don't let him in the room at night. But does really well. She's learned out means get out of the room, or get out of the closet, or get out, period, wherever she's at. Usually it's the closet because they'll get all tangled up in all of the stuff and play with my shoes and my dresses, and Marble has figured out how to get on the very, very top in the closet. I'm not sure how she did that, but she did that. She will not bite. She very much loves children, but she will not play with children. She likes to keep a safe distance, and she learned when one of my best friend's daughters came by and visited us. She stepped on her tail in accident, and she figured out, okay, these are clumsy humans. So she no longer trusts her tail around children, which is probably smart. If I had a tail, I would not trust it with a child either. She's very well temperament-wise. She's not very social. She's very to herself. She's a little princess. And, yeah. She didn't adapt well to Marble in the beginning, but they're best friends now. And that is the story of how we got this little angel. You gonna say hi, Blue? Thanks for listening.